José Youngs with MMA Fighting here in Abu Dhabi ahead of UFC 308, talking with Dan Ige. And I wanted to talk to you, Dan. I know we weren't going to get to chat with you at Media Day, but I feel like, I've been covering you and interviewing you for a long time now, and you were on win streaks, you've been on losing streaks, but I feel like you've never been more in the conversation than you have been in the last few months. I think you've never been on the minds of people more since, you took that fight against Diego Lopes on just hours' notice. So I'm just curious if you felt the same way leading into this 308 fight.
Yeah, definitely. I had so much reception, from the fans, from the media, especially after that fight. And even this week, I have a ton of media, a ton of requests. And it's cool, just to get the love. I have embedded following me all week. So even that, just getting the love from the fans, from the media. But you can't let any of that change you. It's just it's part of the journey. It's part of the process. And I'm grateful. That's the only way I could put it. Is just be grateful. You could be resentful too. You could be like, man, I got so much media to do. I got to sign all these posters, talk to all these fans. But at the end of the day, I'm just pretty grateful.
Is that kind of a veteran mindset? Because I've talked to young fighters before, and when they get that moment, and then all of a sudden they're in demand, they say, well, you weren't interviewing me years ago. I don't need to talk to you now. And they complain about all the attention and all like the lifting. And I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. You know how the game works. Is that just like a veteran mindset? Like you have to take what comes?
I think so. I have so much experience now. It's crazy. This is my 18th fight in the UFC or something like that. I was trying to do the math the other day, and it's definitely experience. I never take anything for granted. You never know. This could be my last fight. So I always I know when I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, I'm going to look back and wish that I embraced these moments. And I really do think it is a mindset, because I could look at my schedule. It's slammed. Like tomorrow, interview, and I could be like, man, there's so much media. I need to focus on the fight. I need to focus on the training. But at the end of the day, this is what we do. This is part of the job. Fighting is one thing, but everything else is definitely part of the job. And how do you handle it? So I just handle it with gratitude.
And last thing on that before we move on to the actual fight, is that what you would tell young fighters? Because I mean, we get like guys coming off the Contender Series, they've never done a media day, they've never done a press conference. I don't really think like PR training is the right word I would use for the UFC, but just like be prepared for all the lights and glamour that come with being a fighter in the UFC.
I would just say embrace the moments, man. Like, again, there's someone else out there wishing they would be here, wishing they're dying to be here in my shoes right now. So every single poster, don't grimace about it, dude. Embrace it, enjoy it, love it. It really is truly a gift. I've worked a long time just to be here, and now I am here, and I'm just trying to really embrace the moment. I feel like I've grown into the fighter, into the man, into the human that I am today. And so yeah, I guess that would be my advice. Just embrace the moments.
In terms of your actual fight against Lerone Murphy, I mean, the last time obviously we saw you against Diego, you wanted to be on the Sphere card. Dana said, we try to make that happen. It turns out you're the next pay-per-view or a couple pay-per-view after. Was there any real conversation of you being on the Sphere card, or did they just come to you like, we want you in Lerone in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, nothing came past that night. I talked to Jean Silva that night. I talked to Hunter, and I knew they were going to try to work something, but it had to work out right.
Sure.
Being Mexican Independence Day, I had to find the right opponent, and it just didn't work out. I remember Dana was getting ready to announce the card. It was literally 8 weeks out. I was like, maybe I'm on it. I just don't know. And I wasn't on there, so I wasn't bummed out. I knew I would get something, and then they offered this fight, Lerone Murphy, on an amazing pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like, this pay-per-view is sick. If I was to compare the two, this...
It's not much of a stretch to say it's a little better.
Yeah. It's a great card. So, and to be on the main card, share a pay-per-view with Max is awesome.
Do you guys talk about, like, because we were talking a little before, and I interviewed, obviously, Power Slabs this week, and we were interviewing the super heavyweight champ, the Crazy Hawaiian. And he says it's pretty wild to see like two Hawaiians headline cards all the way out in the Middle East. And I was like, well, Dan Ige is also on the card too. He goes, there's three Hawaiians fighting in Abu Dhabi like to go from a tiny island out in the Pacific to now fighting in the Middle East. Like, do you guys think about that or talk about that, or is it just kind of a trip for you?
I do. It is a trip, and you know, you try to zoom out in perspective, and just like three kids that, you know, came from a small island, and here we are in the Middle East, and we get a big opportunity to shine, put Hawaii on the map, and you know, there's great fighters everywhere, but just to be one of the few to come out of there and represent the islands, you know, no words for that. It's awesome.
And your opponent Lerone, obviously on a tear. You faced a lot. You've been on win streaks. You've faced a lot of young up and coming guys. What do you make of just him as an opponent?
You know, I think he's great. He's a great fighter. He's undefeated, you know, for a reason, because he's really good. He had an impressive last performance against Edson Barboza, a vet, you know, a guy who's been around forever, like one of the scariest fighters in the division, and pretty much outclassed him for 5 rounds. I know he dealt with a little adversity in round 1, but then came back and just put on a clinic. So that was cool to watch, and if anything, it excites me. I'm looking forward to the matchup. I do believe just experience alone, I have a ton of experience, and I think that will, you know, play a fair part in the fight. But a fight's a fight. Anything can happen, but I'm definitely going to go out there and look to finish the fight. He's tough as nails. He's never been beaten, never been finished. So I'm going to look to do so.
Do you see that weird tweet saying that he was out and then Jean Silva was stepping in? I think obviously it was debunked. Like, there's a lot of like fake tweets out there, but I guess people were just like, God, Dan just can't catch a break. It's like Lerone fell out the first time, and then Joe Anderson fell out, and then you had to step in on like hours notice against Diego. Like, where were you when you all this, like, because I assume when you saw it, journalists and people were starting to hit you up, it's like, is this true, is this true? It would probably caught you off guard. So were you like, any moment were you just like, is this actually happening again?
I was literally on the plane. So I was flying over the Atlantic Ocean at that point, and I'm like, I saw the tweet. I'm like, what is this? And then I started getting hit by reporters, and like I went and tweeted fake news because I was like, I didn't hear nothing. And then I'm like actually going and looking, checking my email. There's no emails. I texted Sean Shelby, and I'm like, I'm trying to take a nap right now. So I'm like, bro, is this real? I'm getting hit up by reporters, and he said fake. So it is what it is. I would have been ready, you know, because I didn't come all this way to not fight. So
yeah, I feel like if someone's going to be ready on a quick turnaround, it's going to be Dan Ige.
Yeah. Whatever. It is what it is. We're fighting Saturday. Whoever it is, I'll be ready.
What were some of your favorite jokes you saw about about the short notice fight? Like obviously when President Biden dropped out, it was like all the jokes were like, oh, Dan Ige can come in and do this. Like, what were some of your favorite memes and jokes?
That was a good one. The Dan Ige versus Trump in the race. I loved all the Volk memes.
Oh, so yeah,
like,
Volk.
It was like Dan Ige and Volk should just get 0 hours notice and just randomly get a call, and they have to weigh in and fight each other at whatever weight. Just because, you know, that's just who we are. You know, we're down to fight anytime, anywhere, any place. As long as I don't have to cut to 145 on hours notice, I'm good. But if you just call me, you know, it's time to fight. You know, it's time to fight.
I saw some videos of you and your son pretending to do power slap on your Instagram. Are you guys actually fans of the power slap product? Like, you guys watch it?
I mean, to be completely honest, I've never actually watched a full event, but you know, the highlights are fun to watch. But yeah, we're just messing around. My son and I, he likes to watch the little clips on there, and he wanted to slap me. So
is he still skateboarding? I think the last time you and I spoke, you had just posted a video of him like skating around. Oh, you were trying to show him how to skate.
Yeah, no, he kind of fell off from that. He likes riding his bike, but he's wrestling now. So he and I just put him there, like let him do his thing, and he loves it. It's more playful, like gymnastics, but shit, 3.5 years old and wrestling is pretty insane to me. So
is he at an age where he knows what you do now?
Oh yeah, you know, he talks about me fighting all the time. It's funny because I told him I'm in Abu Dhabi, and he like still doesn't understand like the concept of like time and places. He's like, "Where are you at, Dad? Hobby Lobby?" I'm like, "No, Abu Dhabi." And then I'll FaceTime him. He's like, "Why is it light over there?" Because it's night back home. I'm like, "Dude, I'm on the other side of the world. I'm gonna fight," and it's cool, man. I know he looks up to me a lot, and I just want to be a good role model and good example.
Would you let him fight?
I would probably never push him to fight, but if that's what he wanted to do, and you know, it's just you got to really commit your whole life to it, and it's a big commitment. And if he wants to, he can, but I'll probably never push him to do that.
Well, just last one for me. How do you get it done on Saturday?
How do we get it done, man? We're prepared. I'm in amazing shape, so if we have to go the distance, I will. But you know, I'm gonna be looking for that finish. From when the bell rings, it's just finding that shot and, you know, getting him hurt. And once he's hurt, look for that finish. Because, you know, that's such an important thing people miss sometimes. You get someone hurt, and if you don't capitalize on that very moment, you miss your moment. So I'll be dialed in, and I'll be looking for that finish. And it's going to be a great fight, so tune in.
And I know I said last one, but I do have to get your thoughts. Obviously, I assume I know who you're picking. Just thoughts on the main event.
Great main event, you know. But yeah, I'm 100% with Max. I think he's going to go out there and put a masterclass.
Appreciate you, Dan.
Yep.